My name is Hannah, and this is my beauty budget. Well, I'm having one of those days where my voice sounds really weird to myself. Like I'm talking and I'm like, my name is Hannah and this is my beauty budget. But everything is fine. Everything will be fine. I'm filming my Shop My Stash video today, which is one of my favorite videos to film because I love shopping my stash. I love what it represents. I love talking about it on YouTube. But the thing I love the most is actually doing it, the practice of it. And even if I weren't on YouTube, I think I would be getting just as much satisfaction out of it. I think that the idea of shopping one's stash is one of the most brilliant things ever to emerge from the YouTube zeitgeist. And I actually was doing it before I started my own YouTube channel. It just occurred to me one day in a flash of brilliance, even though I had already heard of it from YouTube. I had never considered doing it myself. I had like idly watched the videos out of curiosity to hear what people had to say about the products in their collection and to look at their collections and to see what they would choose, etc. But I always kind of watched as a voyeur. And then one day it occurred to me, brilliant woman that I am, to actually go physically shopping in my collection of makeup. And I remember the first time I did it so clearly because it was such a revelation. I remember just changing my mindset and starting to go through what I had, thinking, what shall I buy? What shall I choose? Which ones will be the ones that win today, the ones that I pick? And I remember how much joy I got out of that process the first time I did it, how excited I felt to use the little group of products that I put on the center of my vanity after I had shopped for them, and how amazed I was at the level of gratification that I derived from it. The reason I'm telling you this story instead of getting right into the meat of the video is to encourage you to shop your stashes. If you've never done it before, if you're like I was and you're just watching as a voyeur, I tell you, you can do it too, and doing it yourself will be even better than watching other people do it. But today we're all here to watch me do it. I'm going to tell you how I fared with the things for which I shopped my stash last time. I'm going to tell you what I shopped my stash for today. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Sadie is back there today. I'm not sure if you can see her. She is in the chair that's closest to the window. She's probably all blurred out. I'm getting a lot of comments from people saying that they're always checking over my shoulder for Sadie. Maybe she'll show herself in a more elaborate manner later on. Sadie. She's just raised one lazy eye at me like a little dragon. Oh, there she goes. Here she goes. Hey, are you coming to visit? You want to be in the video? Come here. Come all the way over here. You have to come over here. All right, now she's lying on the floor where no one can see her, so that was completely unsuccessful, but she's not the meat of the video. Lipsticks are the meat of the video. Last time, as most of you will remember, I shopped my stash for 10 lipsticks, and I tried to pick 10 kind of statement lips that were languishing a little in my collection because I tend to focus on eyes. That reminds me, I'm so sorry. I'm prolonging the meat of the video for one more thing that I really want and need to say, which is that I am so living for my eye look today. And sometimes when I'm really living for my eye look after I put it on, when I play back the footage from the video, it doesn't look as good on video as I thought it would. So hopefully this isn't one of those days, although knowing how fate goes, it probably is. I talked in my favorites video about how it had been my favorite to put shimmery or glittery eyeshadow literally all over my lid, like from lash line to brow. And then a bunch of you have been saying that you want to see me do that, and I will try to demonstrate it in a video soon, but some of you are just saying, can you please wear that look in a video so that we can see what you're talking about? And I have kind of been wearing it in a lot of videos, but it's been a little bit subtle, or I haven't pointed it out. Or perhaps more importantly, I have not shown you a close-up. So I'm gonna do some close-up shots of this eye look right now and show you what it looks like close-up so you can really see that the shimmery overlay is all over my lid, all the way up into my brows. I'll quickly tell you what I used, although exactly what I used isn't what's important, it's kind of how I did it. I laid down a base of that reddish color that you can kind of see underneath. It's a rich blush. And it's actually something that was recently sent to me by a subscriber in Australia. I can't wait to tell you about the couple of things she sent me in Hannah's Reckoning. It's a makeup geek blush called Chivalry, And so it's kind of this really, really rich rose color, which I don't really like using as a blush. It's actually more, it's like a burnt terracotta rose. On the cheeks, I actually did use it a little bit today. It's sort of powdery and intense and the pigment kind of sticks and then it's hard to blend out. It's beautiful, but it's difficult to use, but I've been loving using it on my eyes. It's amazing. And so I put that down, but any blush will do. And then I darkened the outer corner a little with a darker shadow. And then I went in with one of my all-time favorite eyeshadows, maybe my all-time favorite eyeshadow actually. It's Unexpected from the JD Glow Galaxy collection. And I just packed that baby all over my lids and I packed it all the way up onto my brow bone. And it gives that look because it's on the brow bone. It's like it's acting as both the lid color and the brow bone highlight. So when I turn my face, I can see my brow bone gleaming in the light and it's flattering. The fact that the brow bone gleams is flattering to the eye shape. But because it's the same shimmer all over the lids and it's really sort of this wash, it's a slightly more editorial and ethereal look. But because I used this base, and when I put it on, I did put more on the lid and more on the outer corners. I kind of used it to sculpt my eye a little bit. I didn't just put an even wash all over. I put it darker in my crease. So underneath the wash of shimmer, my eye is kind of sculpted, so it helps with the shaping. And then I went in with some purple eyeshadow, some dark purple, and a tiny bit of black in the outer corner to deepen it up. And that's why it's so iridescent. It's like the red and the purple are bringing out the iridescence in this already extremely iridescent eyeshadow. So I'm not going to blabber on at length about that. I just know that I will get questions about it in the comments, and I'm overdue for you guys and kind of demonstrating, at least explaining this eye look and talking about it a little bit more. So I just wanted to squeeze that into this one because for some reason I went wild with my eyeshadow when I sat down to prep myself for today's video. I think I just needed a little chill out. I needed a little zoning out, a little meditative time, and so I just kept going in and kept going in, and then at the end I was like, okay, we did that, we did it. Let's talk about the lipsticks. So I'm going to go through one by one and just briefly review my experiences. A couple of them didn't make it through my lipstick declutter, which happened in between the last time I shot my stash and this time, but most of them did. So I think I have them here in the same order except for the ones that aren't here, the ones that I've decluttered because I've already given them away. The first one is NARS Pussy Control, and I was reminded once again when I wore this, I'm not going to swatch these this time because I swatched them so thoroughly in the previous video and the swatches wouldn't be any different today than they were then. So if you're really curious about the swatches and you haven't seen that one, that's the ticket. NARS Pussy Control, it seems so purple, but it wears so pink. And I think it surprises me because it's so cool toned, but it's an easier to wear lipstick than I usually think of it as. And it's one of my few cool tone lipsticks, to be honest. So wearing it was kind of a reminder that it's easier to wear than I think. It reads like a lilac, like a pinky lilac, and it's a lot less intimidating to me now than it was when I initially shopped my stash for it last month. So I'm really glad that I spent some time with this and got to know it a little better. I would say I wore it 3 times. My goal was to wear each one of these lipsticks at least twice, and I did do that, but I reached for some of them more than others, and I think I wore this one 3 times. I don't think I wore it in a video. I have worn it in a video before. It's the collab I did with Georgia Harris. I'll link it in the cards right now. And I'll try to wear it in an upcoming video, just, you know, for kicks. Next up is the ColourPop Lippy Sticks in Who Run This. It's a matte lipstick. It's very matte and it is very, very richly pigmented, and it's a beautiful, unusual terracotta color. It barely made it through my lipstick declutter because it just didn't spark the joy that a lot of my other lipsticks do. But when I swatched it and I looked at its swatch next to the other swatches, I just couldn't let it go because it's so unique to my collection. And I do think it is an incredibly beautiful, unusual red. So I didn't declutter it at that time because it was still calling to me, it was still speaking to me. But I wore it only twice during this project, and both times I loved the color, but I felt like I made myself wear it both times. And I think it's a combination of 2 things. It's a little bit drying, and it's also so pigmented and so slippery that it can be a little bit hard to apply. And so it's not nearly as dramatic as the Fenty Beauty Stunna lip paint, which in spite of its unbelievably beautiful color, I did declutter because it's so messy that I never reach for it. It's not quite on that level, but I'm starting to wonder if it might be on its way out of my life for similar reasons. So I'm actually going to keep this in the project. I'm shopping my stash for this again today and for another lipstick that I haven't quite decided about that barely scraped through my declutter. I'm going to keep this in my project, and I think at the end of this month, after it's been in my Shop My Stash for 2 months, I'll be able to decide for sure whether I want to keep it or not. Next up is the M Cosmetics Infinite Lip Cloud in Faded Clementine, one of my all-time favorite lipsticks. I was so excited that this was in this box because every time I reached in and I was looking for something to wear and I decided on it, I was like, yes! It was almost like a little lifeline. Like I didn't have to struggle, I didn't have to work. It's just so perfect. It's sort of like a dramatic and exciting nude in a way. It's not a nude, like my lips aren't orange, they aren't the color of this lipstick, but it just doesn't have the high impact, especially when it's blotted, that a lot of the other ones that I picked do have. So it isn't the most nude of the bunch. There's one other one that was my other little lifeline, but there's something about it. I just find it incredibly easy to wear, even though it has a slightly editorial edge. Love the formula too. I love the formula of those Infinite Lip Clouds. They are, in contrast to the lippy sticks, so easy to apply, so easy to control, moussey and lovely, and they are long lasting, but they aren't drying. I really am impressed by that formula. I have 3 colors in that formula, and it's not like I'm lining up to buy a 4th. I feel like that would be a lot, that would be excessive for me, but all 3 of them are at the top of my list of my best lipsticks. So it's the 4th and 5th ones for which I shopped my stash last time that didn't make it through the lipstick declutter. The 4th one on the list was the NARS Velvet Matte Lip Pencil in Endangered Red. And I let it go because I found I wasn't wearing it very often. I was reluctant every time I reached for it. I think I might have only worn it the one time, and then I think that time I put it on and I couldn't get the coverage that I wanted. I couldn't get it to be as rich as I wanted, and I ended up going in with my Anna Sui lipstick in a similar color. It's this one, F403. I ended up going over top of that NARS Velvet Matte Lip Glide pencil thingy. I ended up going over top of it with this to get both a more even coverage and a more nourishing lip product, because for some reason that one, the one that was in Endangered Red, the deep kind of berry bitten wine one, was more drying than my other NARS lip pencils in the same formula. For example, I feel like I can wear Pussy Control all day and it's perfectly fine. And that one, it was like it dried out my lips as soon as I put it on, and I had to add this in. So I ended up keeping this in the declutter and letting go of that other one, because any lip that I was doing with that, I could do with this. And added bonus, I've given away a lot of those lipsticks that I decluttered. I had some friends come over, I gave them away, and then I gave a whole bunch away to a good friend who has been helping me out recently with my taxes, because she is a numerical genius, and I, while not an idiot, am terrified of taxes and math. I mean, it's just how I was born, you guys, okay? Anyway, I gave her a bunch of lipsticks and some free tango lessons. It wasn't just my discarded lipstick that I gave her as a thank you, but almost all of them, if not all of them, have been rehomed at this point. So I don't know why I'm telling you that. I think I got some comments being like, do you really give them away? Or are you just saying that you do? And like, who are these friends of yours who want your lipsticks? And I don't know what to tell you. I have a number of friends who don't really buy makeup for themselves. The reason I'm telling you this is because specifically Endangered Red was picked from the pile. There were a bunch of them. There were like 25 lipsticks in that box that I decluttered. A friend came over and she plucked it out as one of the few that she chose, and she put it on right away, and it looked amazing on her. Amazing. And it looked on her in a way that it never would look on me. So I was particularly gratified by the decision to declutter that one, because not only has it gone to another home, but it's gone to a much, much better home, and it will get much better use in its new home. And then the other one was my little mini of the Tom Ford lip color in True Coral. It just made a girl out of me, and so I decided not to keep it. Next up, the ColourPop Luxe lipstick in Dream Easy. This one also kind of barely made it through because I tend not to think that I want to wear it, but then when I do wear it, it looks so good. And I cannot deny how good it looks. That's one of the interesting things about stash shopping. And then once I am not wearing it, I kind of put it back and I forget, and I think it's just like a pink. And I forget that it kind of has this richness and specialness to it. So actually this one, I'm gonna shop my stash again for this one today. I'm gonna put this back here in this little pile. I'm gonna keep using that, and because I won't have shopped my stash for 10 lipsticks this time, the lip products that I did pick will be getting more consistent play, so I'll have a better chance to make up my mind about those ones that I'm gonna be using in the coming month. After that, we had Tom Ford Wild Ginger, one of my prized possessions, one of my all-time favorites, and I loved wearing it. I feel the way about this that I've kind of always felt about it, which is I just wanna reach for it more. Why am I not reaching for it more? Even this morning, before I went to work, I was like, I want to wear a bold lip. And I looked at this and I was like, but not Wild Ginger. I don't know if it's really a Wild Ginger worthy day. But I want every day to be made worthy of Wild Ginger by the simple act of me wearing Wild Ginger. So I'm going to try to continue to climb the mountain of convincing myself to wear this more often. It's amazing. Charlotte Tilbury Miss Kensington. This was my other sort of neutral lifeline, and I said when I shopped my stash for this that I wanted to remind myself that it's more of a nude and less of a pink, because I think of it as a pink and then I'm like, oh, I don't want a pink today. I'm not really in a pink mood. I'm not really a pink person, but it really doesn't read as pink. It reads more neutral on me, and I have been thoroughly convinced of that fact over the course of this past month. I think I wore this one probably the most out of all of them, and it definitely provided that neutral option for me, and it definitely felt neutral to me. I no longer think of it as a pink. I really think of it as one of my medium, effortless, light nudes. I've also developed more of an appreciation for this formula than I had before. I used to think of it as a little slippery and silicone-y and not as long wearing as I would have liked, and I've changed my tune a little bit. I am vaguely considering buying another lipstick in this formula. Probably not this month, maybe not even next month, but it's something that is, I think, going to be on my wish list until I go ahead and buy it. It's Bond Girl. Second to last, Coral Gypsophelia, which is this Givenchy lipstick, and I said it all in my lipstick declutter. It's an impractical choice for something to keep, but I don't feel like it's the wrong decision to keep it because it's so incredibly unique, and on the occasions on which it is the right choice, it's so amazing to have it. The quality is also off the charts. It's incredibly creamy and pigmented. It's hard to pull off a white-based fluorescent lipstick like this, and this is gorgeous. It's perfect. I only wore this 2 times too. It's just so bright. It's just so bright. I'm a little afraid to wear it on camera because the one time I wore it on camera before, I think it like threw the whole color balance off because it was just like beaming from my mouth and I looked a little bit crazed. Last but not least, NARS Catherine. This is another one that is perfect in every way and that I just don't reach for as often as I should, similar to the Tom Ford lipstick that I own. And I reached for this probably third, what did I say? It's probably tied with Faded Clementine. I think I reached the most for the Charlotte Tilbury Miss Kensington, the sort of nude matte, and then I think I got equal use out of these two. I probably wore each of them at least 3 or 4 times, these two. It's just beautiful. It's like a comfortable guava with a nice glow, but it still has a sense of a natural look about it, and I love that NARS Audacious formula too. So it was extremely successful, this stash shopping. I do highly recommend it. I recommend shopping your stash for 10 amazing lipsticks that don't get a lot of use and challenging yourself to wear each of them twice. It was an excellent strategy, and I'm curious to know how it went for those of you who decided to do this type of project with me, because I know that some of you in the comments were like, I'm gonna do it too. So if you did do it too, let me know how it went. I especially appreciate the ones that I gave away. I appreciate that I actually got the chance to wear them consistently and to kind of stack them up against other lipsticks that occupied somewhat the same space in my heart. Like, I love this, it's so cool, it's such a great color, I'm glad I have it, it's unique to my collection, but I don't really wear it that often, right? Like, I picked all lipsticks that fell under that umbrella, and then I was able to stack them up against each other and find out which ones were worth keeping and which ones weren't. This was so fun. I was actually tempted to turn around and do it again. I was tempted to turn around and pick 10 more lipsticks, but because I just decluttered my lipsticks, I kind of feel like my lipsticks are in a state of magical suspension right now. I feel really drawn to them. I feel like I know them very well right now. I don't really feel like I need to shop my stash for them to remind myself of anything. They're so fresh to me right now. So I'm giving most of my lipstick collection a rest, and I'm going to do a regular shop my stash with some eyeshadows and other powder products and a couple of lipsticks. I'm going to tell you what those are right now. I'm shopping my stash for the Star Palette, my beautiful Natasha Denona Star Palette sent to me by the enduringly lovely Wendy, who, you guys, I got to meet Wendy. She was visiting LA and we had tea and it was totally dreamy. She is the best. Wendy, if you're watching, hi. I'm not going to reveal any details about Wendy here on the internet because that is for her to do if she so chooses, but just know that she is as awesome as one can be, and she's kicking butt at her life, and I'm really proud of her, and I'm excited to have met her and to have learned more about her and her story. I had a little trouble choosing what I wanted to shop my stash for this go around in terms of eyeshadow, because I realized as I was looking through what I have over there that I really wanted to pick something that had some reds, some like blushy reds. And I don't really have, first I considered my Wet n Wild Comfort Zone, and then I was like, no, this doesn't really have the colors that I want. I even considered the gold palette, but I've really been wanting this kind of color, this kind of rusty, blushy color. And I've been reaching into a lot of my blushes to use on my eyes lately because I don't have very many eyeshadow palettes that have those colors in them, which is really weird because everyone has that. And I think I decluttered my Modern Renaissance, and I think that I sort of just never really had that many warm toned palettes. I wasn't really on that train. And now that the trend is pretty much over, I'm starting to understand it. Although I'm a little more into this like rusty, rosy, I'm not so into like the oranges. I'm more into this like blushy, almost blue red. The Star palette is one of my few palettes that has, if not the only one that has like these tones in it. I do have a number of eyeshadows in those kind of light berry colors in my singles, and then I have my blushes, so it's not like I can't build looks without this palette, but this just seemed like the obvious choice when I was like, oh, I want a dynamic, textural, interesting palette that has those colors in it. Now, when I first got this palette and played around with it a bunch, I struggled with those shades. They aren't quite as pigmented as we're used to. And someone mentioned in the comments when I reviewed this palette that it might be because this palette was formulated and hit the market kind of before that trend was super, super hyped. So it was at a time when people were still a little bit afraid of red eyeshadow, and the suggestion was that Natasha Denona might have formulated them to be a little bit more of a light wash on the lids rather than a really intense pigmented red. But a washy, fleshy, slushy stained eyelid in those tones is what I am craving right now, and I feel like I can enhance it and build on it and make it more exciting with all of the other kind of textural, interesting shadows in this palette. So for a blush, I decided to shop my stash for this little NARS Orgasm. And I think you could kind of say the same about this as about the lippies I picked. It kind of barely made it through my blush declutter. I wasn't sure. I looked at it and then I was just like, oh, it's so iconic, I'll keep it. But I realized at that moment, and I realized again today when I was shopping my stash, that I'm not really sure what it does, kind of. Like, I don't look at it and I don't know it very well. Like, I know my other blushes, most of them, very well. When I'm looking, I look through my blush drawer, my eye lands on my Clinique Cheek Pop, and I know what kind of look it gives. My eye lands on my Jouer Blush Duo, and I know what kind of look that would give. But then my eye kind of skips over this because I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's NARS Orgasm, but it's hard for me to envision how I can make it work for me. And that just means to me that I haven't spent enough time with it lately. I haven't used it, really gotten my fingers into it since I moved into my current phase of makeup aesthetic and style and skill level and whatever is going on with me right now. So this is a little bit on the chopping block. I'm gonna use it over the next month, and then at the end I'm gonna decide whether or not I really want to keep it. And the same is true of these 3 lippies. So I already talked about Who Run This and Dream Easy. And the third one that I'm throwing in is this Lancome Proenza Schouler, or Proenza Schouler. Some people keep correcting me and I just never remember how you say it, but it's this Lancome collaboration lipstick. It's sort of a sheer pale beigey pink. And I generally don't like lip colors that are lighter than my natural lip color, but that are sheer. Because what happens is they shine on my lips and they kind of break apart and sink into the lines, and then it's uneven. Like, it doesn't provide even coverage. But this is so luxurious, and the packaging's so luxurious, and the formula is so nourishing, that it was hard for me to stomach letting it go during my lipstick declutter. And it's in large part just because I haven't gotten to know it well enough. It still exists in my mind kind of as a theory, and I've tried it on sometimes and I like how it looks, but I'm not really sure how it wears and how it works as something that I utilize. You know, I'm not sure about its level of practicality. So I am going to use it assiduously over the coming weeks, and then I will report back on it when I film my next Shop My Stash video. So this is an interesting month for Shop My Stash because I picked the Star palette, which is just pure indulgence for me to have shopped my stash for this. It's just pure cream, pure party. But these, the 3 lippies and the blush, are being tested. They are kind of all on the chopping block, so we'll see how it goes. That's it. That's what I'm shopping my stash for, and that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I am really interested to hear how your stash shopping adventures are going, if they're anything like mine. So let's chat down below. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself right now so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.